working on the cable management a little bit. Pretty much have created labels just to kind of keep track of RGB, because I'll be using this Corsair ecosystem, and good lord, there's a lot of wires. Labels will come in handy so I know which fans are what for the 9 fans, as well as which RGB is what. So like for instance, here's the CPU RGB that goes to the block. Got this adapter from eBay that will allow me to plug it into the Corsair LED hub, which is connected to the Commander Pro.
Editor Seth here. Through trial and error and research, I learned the adapter I really wanted was an ARGB to 3-pin, not 4-pin adapter. I then plugged the 3-pin adapter into one of the 2 channels of a Lighting Node Pro or Commander Pro. The Lighting Node cores and 6-port LED hubs you get with the HD120s are specifically for fans, whereas LED strips make use of the 3-pin connector and LED channels. Hopefully this tidbit will save you some time and money by getting the right adapter for the right component.
And I should be able to connect, or control rather, everything through iCue. And that's the same for the front strip on the Dynamic XL and the distro plate from EKWB once I get it, including the PWM RPMs of the D5 pump. I'll be able to control through the Commander Pro by having it be on one of the fan headers. So obviously there's only 6 headers. I have 9 fans plus a pump, so I'm getting some splitters. I was going with some Y splitters from 𝗏𝗏, but I think I'm going to put 3 fans per splitter. So I found a triple splitter on Amazon that I'm going to use, and that way I can have top, side, and bottom fans all on one PWM channel. And then the distro, the D5, and then if anything else comes, like a 10th fan for instance, I can put that there as well.
Editor Seth again. From additional research, I've learned using a 3-way fan splitter to get 9 fans on one Commander Pro and a D5 pump just won't work. There's just not enough amperage. Each fan is 0.3 amps and the pump is around 2. The Commander Pro only supports up to 4.5 amps for the entire unit, including any RGB, and 1 amp per 4-pin header. It seems there isn't enough juice, and from what I've read, there have been issues reported using 3-way fan splitters as well. I've used 2-way splitters, no problem. However, trying to get 9 fans and a pump on one Commander Pro just won't work. As such, I've modified what accessories I'm using. I now have 2 Commander Pros and added a Lighting Node Pro. This will let me control all 9 fans and the pump without issue, as well as make use of the various LED channels. I'll need for the fans, the distribution plate, the CPU block, the Corsair LED strip at the top, and the front LED strip on the Dynamic XL. Of course, should I decide to water cool my GPU and want to control the RGB for that block, I'll need to add a second Lighting Node Pro. If you're trying to figure out iCue but find it confusing, just know you're not alone. I put a link in the description below to an amazing forum thread that's helped me loads.
I did decide to use a low profile USB front header connector, just because that big chunky cable sucks. And then I also got a 90-degree adapter that's coming in the mail for the USB Type-C connector, because as you can see, it kind of juts out and that's no good. So trying to tuck these back further just puts strain on the header, and I don't like that. So I think a 90-degree connector, if you kind of visualize that, will basically be like this, and I'll be able to tuck the cable in further that way. So I think though, doing all the labels and getting some things managed is definitely going to save me time in the long run, because there's just a crap ton of cables. So my goal is to kind of get as much as I can managed, and so that the fans, both the RPM or the PWM and the LED cables, can just kind of rest on the top of everything else. Shove everything in here, because there's not going to be much organization. Use that metal plate to clamp everything down and hope that the case closes, which it should. Cable management, it sucks, but it's necessary, and it's really sucky if you have a lot of RGB. I went ahead and completely redid the cable management because I was just not happy with what it was before, and I'm a lot happier now. It's still, you know, a lot of stuff in there, but I think it's a lot better, and everything fits a little bit easier. The little shield thingy goes on a lot easier and doesn't get pressed on as much. This is still a test fit because I'm using stock cables here and my very old cable mod cables. I'm still waiting for the new set to come in the mail, and those are actually, I think, Mod Flex or whatever the thicker ones are. These are the thinner ones, and the ones that I ordered are also, I want to say, 50 to 100 millimeters longer. So we still might have an issue where things won't fit very well. Not to mention the 3-piece GPU power connectors are 8x3, so they might not. I don't know how loose they are in the back. But they, like, once you get to the GPU, they're all nice and fancy looking. So I don't know how much room that will take up. But I mean, we've got 2 Commander Pros, 2 6-fan LED hubs. 6 are used, and then 3. So I only have 9 fans. Then we have, tucked away in here somewhere, is a Lighting Node Pro, and then an internal USB hub from NZXT, so that I'm not daisy chaining, so that each thing that requires USB is getting its own signal. The reason I did this, and I might have explained this before in another update, is because people have had problems where if they daisy chain Commander Pros, they're not getting all the signals read, so things aren't, like, for instance, temperature. So I am going to use the XD5's water sensor in the distribution plate once I get that. I redid the cable management, and I'm a lot happier. Like I said, I think that it's kind of hard to see, but it looks a lot better. It really does. And you're not even gonna see this anyway. Let's see if I can actually get this with one hand. Try a Kyle here. You're not even gonna see any of this stuff. Why do I always do this? I always go too far. Cats are getting hungry and active. There we go. So yeah, there you go. I mean, you're not gonna see it. Nothing's blocking the fans. That's the important part. And you're not gonna see this. So I'll just go around to the front again. I took the GPU out. It's right there. So yeah, just dangly cables. It is what it is. Oh, another update I got, and if you're following me on Facebook, and I might have even put it on Twitter, I mentioned this, I got a 90-degree USB Type-C adapter. It's naked, unfortunately, but being able to have it at 90 degrees means I'm not putting as much stress on this header or cable or the connector on the motherboard itself, and I can tuck the cable a lot better, and it's a lot nicer and cleaner looking. And then the adapter itself is kind of hidden by the 24-pin cables anyway. So yeah, definitely recommend one of these. I got it from moddiy.com, and it shipped in about a week from Hong Kong, so that's cool. And this is, if you're wondering, because there's 2 kinds, there's Type A and Type B. This is Type A. I ended up getting both just because I wasn't sure. This is Type A for the Asus motherboard. All it means is if you get Type B, it actually is reversed, so it's facing that way. So yeah, so it just depends on your motherboard.
So as you can see here, I do have the PC all set up in a temporary soft tubing loop as well. This is 𝗲𝗄𝐄 white tubing. I had some EKWB soft tubing 60mm fittings as well that I just made use of to help kind of get this loop going. I ended up buying a whole bunch of EKWB soft tubing fittings a while ago just to see in various colors, just so I could see what they looked like in person, because I don't think the representation you get through images on the website is as good as seeing it, you know, and touching it and having it in your hand. With regards to the lighting, I couldn't be happier. Everything's come together. There is some issues here with this GPU strip for whatever reason. Sometimes it doesn't really work with the lighting with Corsair. Sometimes I just have to reboot the machine and it works. I honestly think there's some issues going on between Asus's Armoury software as well as Corsair's iCue. For instance, the Q code reader's giving me an FF, which means something's not working right, but I mean, nothing's broken. I haven't had any BSODs or anything like that. The profile I've set up for the lighting here is just an iCue profile I downloaded from their site. It's called Winter. It's pretty nice. I've tinkered with it and made some of my own as well. The cooling for the CPU on the loop with only one radiator is pretty good. I've run consecutive Cinebench runs and it never spiked above 67 degrees all core, and while it's idling, it's around anywhere from the 40s to the low 50s. I think it's just kind of some weird thing with AMD in that it likes to add, you know, spikes or whatever to the wattage that it's pulling, or volts. We have a visitor. idle temperatures are not as low as I'd like, but I mean, it's nothing to cry about. And I've been able to set a nice fan profile so it's quiet. Finally, with the GPU itself, I've had it running during gaming sessions. The VRAM on the back gets extremely hot. I've had it spike anywhere from 72 to the 80s. And to me, it's just, that's no good. So I decided I am going to water cool this card after all. And I went with an 𝗏𝗏𝐵 quantum block. And my hope is that they develop an active backplate like they have for Zotac, EVGA, and the Founders Edition cards, because that will keep the VRAM that's on the back nice and cool as well, especially when I'm doing marathon sessions of gaming or editing video or anything else that taxes the GPU itself. For whatever reason, GDDR6X gets obscenely hot, and I have a feeling this is why AMD might not have gone with that kind of VRAM for their new cards. Other than that, I couldn't be happier with this build. It is not yet complete. It's been so long. I've started accruing the parts back in, I want to say December, November, and we're coming up on 4 months later and it's still not finished, but we're getting there. As soon as I get the cables in, I will then put those in and start the process of installing the distribution plate, the GPU block, and doing the bends. So look out for videos on the distribution plate as well as the block. I'm going to do a separate unboxing and review and installation videos on those as well. So if you haven't already, get subscribed. So that's it, I guess, for now. It's just another update, but the new computer is up and running, and I'm loving it. The editing in DaVinci Resolve has been great. The gaming experience has been great. One thing I've definitely noticed is that while my frames in Elder Scrolls Online aren't astronomical, I get around 144 or more, the averages, or that's the average, the minimums are a lot higher. So I have a consistent, smooth gameplay as opposed to having pretty high at 1440p and then a lot of lows, dipping a lot, making it not a smooth gameplay experience. I have a feeling that in other games that aren't online, that I'll have even better experience. Well, that's it for me. That's the update for the new build so far. I'll keep posting more so you guys can keep updated as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like the video if you liked it. Show your support for the channel by getting subscribed, and don't forget to turn on that notification icon so you don't miss out on any future content. I'm Seth, and I'll see you next time in the middle of nowhere.